Right, guys, it is that time again. Well, it was that time a few days ago, but I got sidetracked and actually forgot about it, like Diane Aberpotamus forgets how to perform basic math. The channel's prestigious award show is back, calling out the snivelling shitweasels from the previous week. Well, this one actually covers last week, but no doubt the people nominated then are still shitweasels now, let's be honest. And actually, as a comment on my poll stated, it is time to switch to shitweasel of the hour. There are that many of them. Now, in the lead up to Brexit, we all thought we had reached peak shitweasel and it was only going to go downhill from there. How wrong was we? Now it seems everyone and their mother is in competition to win a Shitweasel of the Week award these days because they all act like one almost as often as you guys breathe or take a piss. MPs, media spunk trumpets, companies, and of course social media tosspots that pipe up when they should wind their necks in and fuck off back under the rock that they crawled out of. But before we get in it, let's recap the conditions for winning this prize. Any person in a public position or social media user that acts like a disingenuous fuckpig, lies, cheats, or otherwise acts like an MP or BBC reporter is in the running for this award. Obviously meaning there are millions of shitweasels each day, so we try to take a few out of the bunch and shit all over them from a great height because obviously it's good fun. This video is nothing personal, even if I personally think you are a shitweasel. As they say, don't take it too hard, it's not a dick. But enough of all that, let's actually get into it. We will start with a few honourable mentions before we get into the actual winners. Shit, today there could be a few winners, it is that bad. But our first honourable mention will go to Matt Hancock and everyone who supports the bullshit measures he is pushing through daily. These all get a mention outside the government and Labour who are all in this together because he was a snivelling shitweasel even before this clusterfuck we call the 2020s arrived. The damage being done often at his will to this country is incredible and actually deserves the top spot, but it would be a bit boring since he would always win on that basis. So Matt Hancock gets an honourable mention here at the very least, though of course he's included with the government when they pop up. Now next up, we have none other than Beijing Biden, or the kiddie sniffer in chief, for his flurry of executive orders that have shit all over people's jobs and obviously common sense. In fact, last I checked, he had pumped out more in a few days than some presidents have done over 8 years or something like that, and certainly more than any other president has done in such a short space of time. Add that to the fact he's Beijing's man in the White House who can't get through a press conference without giving us a now expected Biden brain fart. This, among many other things, makes him a worthy entry today. But up next, we have Piers Karen Morgan, the screaming lunatic on Good Morning Britain that had the NHS logo as his Twitter profile for I don't know how long. His usual scaremongering bullshit is still going strong today, so I don't even really need to add any more to it. The guy is a shitweasel, plain and simple. We all knew that from the moment he blocked me because I called him out and told his co-host not to act like him. Obviously she does, so maybe she should be in here with him as a shitweasel of the week. Now, of course, there are a lot more honourable mentions like the CCP, Sky News, Lewis Hamilton and the rest of them, but we will be here all day if we went through the lot. The overriding theme on my poll for this episode, though, was all of the above, so let's get into those shitweasels there, shall we? First up, in fourth place, as voted for by you, is Boris Johnson, his government, and anyone who supports their lunatic policies. They get this award for the damage done to future generations that is going to be biblical, and all of that is on their heads. Actually, it's on the heads of anyone who supports the lunacy they have taken part in. Sacrificing the young to save the old is true snivelling shitweasel behaviour, and is something I would be against if old meant you're in your 30s like me. Never would I accept ruining my children's life to save my own. Only cowards would choose that, or snivelling shitweasels as I've just said. Of course, the government has done many more things that it would take me all day to list, but let's be honest, you all know this already. You've all been living through it. Next up, though, and taking third place for this week's Shitweasel of the Week award, as voted for by you guys, is the Penally and Napier Barracks freeloading fuckpigs that have literally spent a few good weeks now complaining about freeloading off the British taxpayer and have actually since burned the place down. But that bit there will be dealt with in the next episode, as this is for the week before that shit show. Them protesting about conditions when they have illegally entered the country, in my books, puts them at the #1 spot for this. But you guys voted, and I ain't a Remainer, so your vote counts, and the majority wins the day. No 4 years of arguments, second votes, or none of that shit. Democracy has spoken. These guys are third place for snivelling shitweasel of the week. They are still snivelling shitweasels. Everyone on this list is always that, but they didn't win the top spot. As I said, if it was up to me, they would 100% be #1, with the government, of course, because obviously they fucking let them in. Now, in second place and part of the furniture when it comes to this award is the BBC. They are up this week for similar reasons to Piers Morgan, but their crimes are greater because the public fund them, and they have been trying to tell Piers Morgan to hold their beer when it comes to scaremongering and lying to the British public. You all might remember the little morgue visit that is literally enough to get them on this award show, and in fact could well mean that they should have won it. They actually sent one of their idiot reporters into a London morgue to push out a little bit more fear, and even had a mortuary worker cry on camera about having to deal with dead bodies in a morgue. I mean, imagine my shock at finding out dead bodies are inside morgues. Apparently, the mortuary worker that they were talking to was also shocked by this, because as you see in the clip that I showed you, the seasoned NHS worker that has seen dead bodies in that room for apparently 20 years now decides it is all too much and has to have a little cry. The whole thing stunk to me as I covered in the video at the time, and I wasn't even talking about the dead bodies smelling. That piece of theatre and that alone makes them worthy winners of a second place ShitWeasel of the Week award though. I actually find myself wondering what will be next. Will they be at the cemetery with the gravediggers crying about burying people? I wonder if BBC reporters cry when they lie to the public, as that is their normal job at this point. But now let's get into this week's actual winner of the show and most voted ShitWeasel of the Week by you guys. Of course, it is Big Tep and the censorious bullshit that has ramped up in recent weeks. I mean, do I need to say any more than Twitter and many others banning a sitting president while doing their best to cover the arses of anyone with enough power and the right politics to swing it? Add that to the fact they run around banning random people for absolutely no reason, restrict people's reach on social media, and of course demonetize channels on YouTube as they have done with two people I know recently, Rotten Politics and ex-Army Paz. For what reason is actually beyond me, but then again, like I said, snivelling shitweasels like Big Tech don't really need a reason. You just need to have the wrong politics or say something slightly spicy. And actually, YouTube deserves a little mention for banning you guys from commenting on videos. That is beyond the joke if you ask me. A viewer should be able to express their opinion even if YouTube doesn't like it. I am hearing a lot of reports now that people are being banned for simply saying something that YouTube might deem to be slightly offensive. This, of course, makes them a ShitWeasel of the Week. But when it comes to the main culprits, if you ask me, we are talking about Twitter, Facebook, and of course Amazon, because what they did to President Trump and of course Parler is beyond the joke. As a matter of fact, I actually think beyond the joke is a bit of an understatement. Now, I would say all of this and much more makes them deserve the #1 spot, even if I would have given it to the boat wankers taking the piss out of the UK thanks to our government letting them. But as Big Tech is literally the public square at this point, maybe it is right that they take the #1 spot for this. Shit, all 4 of the top names and even honourable mentions could have won this award here. After all, they are a bunch of snivelling shitweasels.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires, and that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. We're off.